Well, hello everyone. Here show you the Gold Monument 16. It's like if welcome back to the number 16 sequel right here. And I went ahead and made some a few changes right here. But you see right here is this right here that if we can see this right here talks about for cash ID, and then this other one they talk about for jobs, and like have right here is for the United States Treasury right here. Most of us have seen it from the previous video. It's like for North Tarikia and as well as for Department of Treasury, and then it's like top up for email as well. And you see right here is go ahead and get to right here. Is this right here was me right here. If I were to be what you call sitting in front of the birthday cake, if I were to be like sitting at an angle, it's like of the birthday cake right here. And I know that this right here could use a little bit more Photoshop work right here, but you see right here is this right here would be like a monument, like a Statue of Liberty monument right here, and I'm sure some I think it was from a 4 or 5 that you're talking about for the Mount Rushmore, but anyway, but from the other previous activities to where that this right here that I had arranged this if this was an example right here of a website. So if anybody will warrant toward it, yeah, that think about as to anything that we want to do so far as when we get older and things that we want to explore, especially, and the stuff that will be considered what you call toys, and especially on our birthday, and we may be used to about maybe every year since we were turning 12 or maybe maybe 11 or maybe 8 years old or maybe 15 or maybe 19, 20 years old that we may get some so you get certain sorts of presents, toys or some sort. And I was also thinking about if I want to go ahead and maybe do an activity talk about sleepovers, because I know most of us, especially on our birthdays, and whenever we were young, that we would have like would say is like, besides maybe pin the tail on a donkey or any type of games like that, that we would have like sleepovers. But this right here talks about for state companies will celebrate safely. This right here would be example right here of a website. And while I was working this, I was thinking about if I want to use a little bit of Dreamweaver, just to be able to put some of this together. But really, that I did a lot of the activities using the illustration program. And so, if anybody wants this toward that, yeah, for like a gold monument, if I'm going to be working later on, maybe in October for 17 and 18, maybe use some of the Dreamweaver work to put like an online website together just to show a little bit of my designing work, especially talk about for childhood photos as well as anything about what a designer would be doing. And this right here shows right here for the associates, for my associate's degree, and let's just say that in 3 or 4 years or so, it could be maybe for a bachelor's or for a master's degree. And so that's just the thing about the whole purpose about, from ever since from the first gold monument is that the first and then second one is I talk about for after, like the buying, fireworks and as well as, for anything about honors as well as anything about, you say for the gold coin. But this right here actually shows right here is if I were to be sitting in front of a birthday cake right here. And for like any type of promotions. And if it's going to be anything about job interviews or anything some sort, but you have right here is that the birthday cake right here, and the birthday cake, if anybody warrants us toward it, that yeah, the birthday cake would say something like happy birthday, Matthew, and it's like for knowing about for honors, and it's like for number of years completed, as well as for twice the amount they have right here. I'll go ahead and show right here for the next page right here for like that for higher education as well as for mobile rules. And then you have right here is for the world map. So if anybody will warrant toward it, yeah, for anything about postal paid as well. But this looking at all this activity that's going on right here, and it seems like quite a bit of information. And I know that if anybody say that already, activity 16 right here for sequel 16, and if anybody like warrant or if they want to see anything new necessarily, it's been about 2 weeks or so since the last time I did an activity about this. So if anybody warrant, we're looking at the world map right here, and thinking that there's any ideas that maybe I want to use later on, but I'm like, well, mainly about, for anything about jobs. It'll be about resume as well for meetings. And you have right here is a picture right here of me right here on my fourth birthday with the birthday cake. And you have right here some pictures right here. And I'm sure most of us know how to work that. But you have right here for a job resume. And with this job, and I know that I think see here, that will be the home right there. But anyway, but yeah, that this page right here we'll talk about the resume. So that's just a thing about is toward it, that if anybody warns toward it, getting a resume together and talk about for promotions especially. So this was right here was example right here of a website. And I know, like with anybody, especially on their birthday, that you're like Warren, to where that, why would, about every year that whenever you're going to have a birthday, that you may be introduced to something new. You may see something new, or you may see something which calls like to where it is going to be increase in maybe the salary or something like that. So whenever I think about this, this right here, the way I drew this, that this was right here was me whenever I was 16 years old. Whenever I was 16 years old, that I may have not known all the stuff what World Wide Web really was, as well as for this digital, this designing work especially, but knowing about with the artwork though, is to anything creative. So if anybody will warrant to where, anything that, if you want to spend some time and, watch TV, or maybe look into an activity book, or maybe reading through a magazine or some sort like that, and you're like, just to kind of get your ideas from maybe for what you think you can do that would maybe make a difference one of these days. And I usually look at that too, as to where anything that you think that you think that that would be able to make a difference, especially any type of difference would be as to where that from your sophomore, from your junior year, or maybe from your senior year, from your freshman year, or so maybe from your fourth or fifth year while you were going to school, and think about as to anything that you're working on that really would make a difference. But you see with these pictures right here, it was me right here with the toy. And then you see this right here, the resume right here. It's like the rules about the toys. So I know anybody say that from the time that they are 7 and by the time that they're 10, that they may get a lot of new toys. And you're like, Warren Tour, which one of these toys out of all of them from over the past 15 years or so that you had a birthday since you were 15 and maybe since you were 12, which one of them that would buy you a career? And you're like, Warren, well, yeah, on the birthday cake, but then on top, I'd say for the gold monument. Yeah, by the time you get a job, whenever you're 16, that's pretty much about it. Or maybe that's something that belonged to the grandparents or some sort, something that shows great progress. But they have right here is the world map right here, and like Warren Tour, the world map, and then you have right here is for emails, anything that you want to share, especially. But you see right here is that ever since Gold Monument 15 talk about for emails and responses, I'm sure most of us would know about how to respond to an email. There will be like a tab on usually on the right side. Like say on like a Google Mail, Google Mail, Gmail works just a little bit different compared to other email inboxes. Usually you would see like a little tab on the left, usually on the right side, they would have like arrow pointing you to where it's like a response tab, or like for compose, but for a response. And if anybody warns to where that if you want to attach anything on email, such as maybe a job resume, the way I include this right here, the way I included this, I don't know if I can move that around, but yeah, I can move it around just a little bit. I could probably show other examples right here too, but this was right here was like a file attachment. I can go ahead and include right here. If that was right there was example right there of a file attachment. Have right here is the paper clip, but that there would show like an attachment. So whenever somebody receives this email, then they will be able to open that up and be able to read it, look at the resume, anything else that you want to share along with it, and to say the gold monument for a job that keeps us going, for working hard to keep the work going, as well as for a skill that means gold. So this right here would be an example right here of like a mobile device. So you might say that whenever you're giving a birthday present, and one of them could be what you call maybe a mobile phone, or maybe an email or some sort, and And then another thing I want to mention too is to where they have right here is that it's like for anybody say about how many of us that are going to have access to it at home. It's like a number of things you have access to online, especially what you call for home. Home can mark the same mean as like a website. This type of website to where it basically takes you back to where from whenever you first found the page or whenever you first introduced to the job. But like say anybody say, yeah, whenever you first get the job and knowing about you for how much does it pay an hour, yearly or so. But on the other hand, that with like a talk for Gold Monument, that with Gold Monument, I'm sure anybody of us would probably say is toward it that we may not have seen it on a birthday card, but we may see it on a job. And you're like Warren Tour, they like any type of promotions that you may not even get hired at first, starting at $100,000 a year. There may be some that may say up to $20,000 a year. We'll go ahead and hire you for a position for maybe up to $25,000 a year. It's like it started as part time, and think about it toward doing the math right here, and you're like Warren Tor, yeah, that especially whenever you're going to be what you call if it's anything related to student loans, especially. And if anybody will warrant to, or yeah, this purpose about this activity between the Gold Monument as well as managing the student loans. And basically, the Gold Monument basically means like for like a job desk is that you basically you're making money there, but then trying to pay back the student loans. That's a little bit different. That's a different account for financial aid. So just think about us starting out from where you are, from where you were back a year ago, and from where you are now, and you're like, well, oh, the Gold Monument. The Gold Monument basically means to where a lot of things are paid for, but there may be some things that are not paid for also, but just think about as to where anything about a job that keeps us going, especially. So that's just a thing as to where that just because Gold Monument is going on in the near future, that we just need to think about as to where that for any matters that we may think as to where, especially on our birthdays, but still that a birthday is a way to how to celebrate. And especially if you're going to have maybe your own account, especially working financial aid and as well as filing your taxes, especially if we're going to have a new way of how we do that, especially if it's going to be online, on mobile devices that you're like Warren to where, oh, okay, I discovered a new way of how to pay this. I discovered a new way of how to do this or that. But then you're like, say, for codes. But you have right here is like this right here will be example right here of a job, but on your hand too, your friend 7 years ago that you're like Warren to where it was not really like this. Is that you may have owed some money just for what you call any bills or something like that, any data or something like that. But let's just say on average is to where like what anybody say to think about Gold Monument is to where it's like it's a type of if we want to call it a skill, a type of lesson to where we can all learn about education. Is that maybe not everything is going to be paid for on its own, but just think about it to where that if we look back at the 5 years of knowing the things that were not paid for, to just try to think about trying to get a settlement made. And I usually think about it as to where that, yeah, that's usually the word I usually would say I would recommend use, especially trying to get a settlement made. A settlement to where that by the time you get a job and thinking about how much money that you're able to make and as well as taking care of the other expenses as well. So if anybody will warrant toward it, yeah, especially on your birthday that you want to kind of look at as to where that this right here would be a star right here. The star would maybe represent is to where great achievements. But you have right here is the pin numbers, but still that for the 7 years or so that maybe that if we kind of look back as to where that this right here will be set for the future, but then think about say for the past is the past, but then think about as to where anything that any of those ordeals that maybe we were looking for that so you kind of look back about 3 years in the past and thinking about as to where really about that salary pay, is it increasing or is it decreasing? If we actually work the math, and some that may say, well, if you were to go ahead and create a website, they will be able to manage the finances correctly. And if everybody say that, yeah, that anything maybe say that, yeah, even the doctors, the doctors would even ask their patients to go and create a website. So if this was right here was me right here, and I know I said it before, but this was right here was me right here, and if I were to like say that, have right here access to my medical or dental records or some sort like that. Maybe the doctors would like to see it, but they know about really the type of job that would doctors feel proud of their patients if they are willing to speak up for anything related to where you were able to take care of the bill on your own with maybe a little bit of help of your insurance, but then on your hand with anything about, like for jobs, like for the Gold Monument. So if anybody wanted to work, yeah, Gold Monument. Even though if your birthday is over with, it's been over with for quite a few weeks. But that don't mean that the task is going to be over with, and that don't mean that the other job is going to be over with. And people are probably like wanting to work. Really, if the whole question is about is to work, waiting for something to be over with, or trying to get an understanding about for what needs to be done. So that's just the thing about the Gold Monument. So I'm sure anybody say if we were to look at a gold coin or some sort, by the time you spin it, it's gone, it's gone. Well, maybe not all of it is gone, but then on your hand too, which causes this type of task. It's like any type of important task that we can maybe think about as to or that they need to think about job reasons. And I want to put together right here is like for like to say if it's going to be for like for signatures or anything like messagings or anything like that. But they have right there is like with me right there. If I were very young, and then the top right for whenever my birthday does come by the year 2018, by 2023, and think about it for all that was accomplished. But see right here is for 100,000. So if we were actually be working the math right here and think about it to where that after about maybe 6 months to maybe close to a year, we may start seeing those digits climbing. But then we may start seeing them decreasing also. And you may wonder to where, hey, it's my birthday. It's my birthday and come on and I want a party or something like that. But still that any sorts of situations that we may come up with especially. But I could maybe say is to where that the way that I try to think about is to where just try to think about is to where you be able to have access to a lot of the stuff, being able to file your own taxes at home, especially online, no matter how much money is coming back. Really, to try to learn about, if we're able to do this independently or if we need any assistance, just think about as to where how much we are willing to get done, especially. So that's usually the way I think about it too. For 16, it's like by the year, for the year 2016, and like we say, tax season, that's tax time's over with, and that's for 2017. So I think about it for online right here, and then they have right here is for emails, especially. So you have these pictures right here for email. So that's just the thing is they have right here for Meet the World, and for World Map, especially if it's talking about for meetings or something for jobs. Little brother, great progress. Say for package delivery for the year 2023 is for paid for. But other than that, and talk about here for job resume, as well as anything that you may want to mention about your promotions as well as your job experience as well. It's for graduated with a high school diploma. It's for the college degree first year. And then you have right here, talk about for websites. So I know anybody that may say that, are we necessarily dreaming about having a website that talks about us, about our career, and maybe about, a little bit of the complications about maybe how long it takes just to put it together. But you're like wanting to wear anything about grant awards. So if anybody warns us to where if you're going to be a student, especially following your taxes, that really, I'm like, what's the use of having an online website? Talk about it for the Gold Monument. It's not a job. It's not a job yet, but just think about it if it was a job. And so looking at the birthday cake right here, if anybody warms us to where, yeah, ever since maybe from your 18th birthday and maybe from your 22nd birthday, and you're like, say, yeah, that's Matthew McGuire right there. Yeah, he's turning 32, right? Yeah, actually, I would be turning in about 16 right here. But still, this picture right here would have been me right here turning 32. So they have right here that right there was what you call any source of identification right here. And then this was here, it's like you're playing with the toys I would have gotten. So if anybody say, yeah, the Gold Monument, something, since you were very young, that something that what you call is like to where that yeah that you may have gotten something for a birthday present whenever you were very young, but then think about it, something that you can get for your birthday that represents you maybe for a company for a job that you can might get in the near future. And one of those would be to where that yeah for making sure that everything's all updated and making sure that there's no false information and making sure everything's correct and making sure is making working with other clients especially. So having an online account, some that may say that that seems very neat. And anybody's like warrant or really that I can maybe use the zoom right here. Go ahead and use the zoom right here to zoom in a little bit right here on this right here, this picture right here. This was right here was me in front of the birthday cake right there. And I say, yeah, that's supposed to be me right there. You have to have right here the Statue of Liberty right there, the gold monument. And while I was working on this, anybody say that, yeah, that looks kind of like you, Matthew. It does? Yeah. Yeah, right there's the statue of Matthew right there. Yeah, right there's city of, it could be maybe the city of Manhattan or yeah, that town of Manhattan, New York City or Connecticut right there. That's supposed to be what you call like a 3D type motion picture on a birthday cake, and right there's a birthday cake right there. Anybody say, yeah, what flavor? Marble. It's supposed to be like for marble, between the mixture between vanilla and chocolate. But on the other hand, you talk about right here is that anything about for right here is a zoom control right there. But you have right there is like a for the birthday cake right there. And so you go ahead zoom in a little bit more right there. But anyway, this right there is like top of say for the birthday cake right there. And then this right here is like for Cash ID. If anybody wants to where what is Cash ID necessarily, like, well, it's basically to where if there's any money that's refunded to you, and I know like with anybody that they may say is to where you're waiting for that moment to where that after about 4 years of having to deal with student loans and repayments or some sort, and you're like wanting to where ways of how to keep your money safe, especially worse is like for Cash ID, a source of identification to where they collect some general information about for knowing about making sure that your money's refunded safely if there's going to be anything direct deposit or anything like that. So that's just the thing about for Gold Monument 16. As think about new source of technology and ways of new inventions, new source of new updated source of information to come. But it's like if I say anything that comes to mind, especially. But anyway, but talk about for promotion. So this was right here was supposed to be an example right here of a website. So you have right here, it's like this right here will be an example right here of a wireframe. So online website for grant awards as well as for promotions. So if anybody say, yeah, that gold monument could maybe start as to any promotions, anything that you were working on, maybe from it took you 5 hours to put it together, and I say, yeah, you don't have to wait until next year on your birthday just to be able to post it. And if anything, they say just to kind of explain about for how to promote it. Try to get other people, try to show other people about your skills, as well as after you graduate and anything like that about the number of years that we've accomplished, especially. So this right here was on me on my birthday. And everybody say, yeah, from your 16th birthday, do you remember getting anything about maybe a radio or anything like that? Like, well, if anything, if I can remember right, on my 16th birthday, if I I did not even get a computer. What did I get on my 16th birthday? I'm trying to think about if I can remember. I think I got like a catalog. I think a remote control car or some sort. But if anybody warns us to her, did you have your own website? Nah, but you have a few friends over. Well, not that I had a few people over, but still that maybe about 3 other people over, but still. Especially on our birthdays, and just think about it's like for the Gold Monument 16, and say for ways of how to promote a website for all what we do, especially if it's going to maybe on Facebook, for like what do promotions basically mean? Promotions basically means to where that new things, improvements, especially to where getting your work and you say getting introducing your work and as well as for new technologies. So if anybody will warrant to where what does promotion basically mean? And I can maybe say is to where that yeah that so and I can go ahead and include right here. I'm like real quick. I know it's I don't know how long I've been talking for, but I would probably say, at least maybe 25 minutes at the most. But you have right here is for what is a promotion. Promotion is what you call, see, promotion. A promotion is known for anything that we are working on to allow other clients, such as if it's going to be subscribers or some other clients, to be introduced to new things. So that's usually that I'm going to say anybody that wanted to, anything about introduced to new things. So I go ahead and work right there. Go ahead and if I want to make that into make that a little bit bigger, like if anybody can see that right there. Create a layout for that. So that right there, like to be introduced to new things. Promotion is known for anything that we're working on to allow other clients to be introduced to new things. So anything about your promotions especially. So you're like wanting to worry about promotions. You may hear that, but sometimes it's like, well, but on your hint, especially on your birthday, just think about it to where a number of things that were accomplished within that 12 months. It's like you're thinking about giving 4 years. Think about say for Gold Monument, talk about for the website that we are able to create and then make useful to other people that may want to know about a little bit about what we do, especially on the careers. You say for knowing about for Happy Birthday Matthew, for United States Treasury, for information that's provided as well, for email. Manny Mc25. Thanks for watching. Gold Monument 16, and have a great. And by the way, talk about for any job resumes, and you see right here anybody that may warrant, or that are they really going to be necessarily looking for any source of what you call for brave intelligence or anything or just experted a genius. But really, about what are the basic rules about going for a job interview? We're talking about for anything about that you want to talk about so far as how well you are working with managing problems and then solving anything about puzzles, anything about anything that goes wrong on a job, what's the best ways of how to solve it, and on your hand, it's like why should I hire this person right here compared to hire this other person? And the other concern could be as to where any type of a degree that they may be looking for necessarily. Anything about job interviews especially, and I say they look at your resume and they look at your experience, and we were like wanted to where that maybe one thing that we could be missing of, especially on a job resume, maybe could be is to where that for how explain to her as you were a child about why is it did it come on your birthday, and I can maybe say as to where it's kind of it may be a little bit embarrassing too, really, to say as to where that ever since my first birthday, I can remember a lot of things that I was interested in, and just think about as to where it was a career, and think about as to where, that anything about creative that you want to work with, especially for how well that you're good about working with other people, and as well as for solving problems or some sort, or anything about using your ideas for any source of creativity. And if we were wanted to where, I have right here's a star right here, right here's a star, and everybody say, about how many stars do you give yourself for anything about pat on the back whenever it comes to what you call as to where, well, check, that's a good thumbs up so far as is if it's anything about us to where, you provide us an email for the survey, check. What's the next goal is, oh, well, one of those would be to where you're interviewing the hiring manager, okay, check. And then the other one could be is to where something related to, something the website, any update on a portfolio. And you're like, say, well, is that check? I can, close, but that's something I still got to work on too. But then the other one to think about too, it could be say it's optional. The other one could be is to where really about Gold Monument, about any job offers. You're like Warren to where name one thing that could be optional about a job offer. One of those would be is to where that well, here's my experience, okay? that ever since I was young, that I used to always think in my bedroom as to where that used to look at the stars, and you start talking about a story to where that you said you would name the wish star at one time as to where that whenever you grow up, 10 years from now, that you want to have something that's that useful just to be able to help improve your education, maybe make a friend. And you're like, Warren Tor, really, how many of us on a job interview that's going to maybe asked to say, I'd like to make a friend, and it's going to have the same experience that I do? And I say, well, you're talking about on that phone. I'm like, well, do you guys sell a phone? I'm like, well, I do, but I didn't bring it. I don't have it on. I'm like, but still, if anybody say that, really, is the whole purpose about having a job related to making a friend? But still, that on top of us, say for like the Gold Monument 16, and you're like Warren Tor, that yeah, by the time that you're 16, that you may know a lot of stuff about what jobs basically means. Does it really mean by getting out of the house? Does it mean getting out of the house and maybe meeting new people on the job industry? How many people? How many people think it's all about getting out of the house? Yep. Having a job is all about what you call just getting out of the house. And getting out of your bedroom. What you call being get involved with maybe more in the community or something like that. Get involved with getting to know other people out there in the professional world. So that's just the thing about something to think about, especially. But talk about say for like anything about job resumes, as well as for the world map, and you have right here is for home, and it's like for working, it's like the calculations, and you have right here is for anything about autographs, and anybody like Warren Tor, yeah. How often would anybody, especially for job interviews, that they would ask for your signature, and they may ask you to sign something electronically, and to say package delivered, anything like that. You say, we ask you to sign here, we ask you to sign there, and we ask you to sign, here, there, okay, over there, okay, sign here, okay, about how many forms do I need to sign? And you're like Warren Tor, that with this electronic stuff, I may not be surprised either as to where that whenever I do get a job and think about as to where that you have it to where you can sign online. It just has a new system. There's a system to where that you're given it like a little notepad, kind of like this, to where it says, congratulations, Matthew, please sign here. And you have right here is like a little box right here that represents your signature. And so they basically is to where that, nope, you don't have all these papers that you got signed, but just think about, you have to remember this tab right here. This tab is to make sure that you have that saved on file on your account, so that way you'll be able to click and paste for where you need to have it at, and then within about maybe 30 seconds or so, yep, and then you're done. It's like, well, you got the job. So that's just the thing about it, to where everybody say, kind of look at that, but new source of technology, really, is that what you call considered fun, or is that interesting, or really do people say it's like to where not so great at all? But on your hand, I talk about, say, for the Gold Monument, you say for happy learning, everyone. And thanks for watching, for the Gold Monument 16, your sequels like Matty Make 25, your Matthew 31. Have a great